Yes,
Can you
Sukhpreet.
hear me actually?
Yes.
Yes, Preet, yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we are live now, and I will still wait. Just make sure that it is also put in the LinkedIn. So just give me a moment. The live link is also there for you in the group of our preparation. So in case you like to share with people, please use that and use the time right now. Okay. Whenever the team says they are ready, we can go actually. Or would you like to wait for a minute for more people to join, or we may start, whatever you decide. We are ready from my end, okay?
We can probably take a minute more and start
Yes.
right away, Mansi, if that's fine.
Pragna, you also have the co-hosting, right? So when I'm speaking, I will request you to let people in, okay?
Definitely, yeah.
All right, let me just put the record button and we go. Okay, people are still joining, so it's quite tempting to wait for them. We start. Warm greetings. On behalf of W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to another session of Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is titled Mysuru Water's Critical and Creative Perspectives. Before getting into the session, a quick overview of Wednesdays for Water. The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions they are working on and seeking for. Wednesdays for Water has expanded to have more online activities like the Friday Waters, which has water talkies, water reading club, water thesis club, water arts, and meet a maestro. In addition, we recently closed the Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, covering over 130 women from water across the country. Besides, we are also doing on-site water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conversation in various possible ways. With this, in 4 years, we have actually managed to reach nearly 450 sessions, touching nearly 700 speakers. And we really are grateful to all the speakers, all the participants, and the extensive team we had have over 4 years. Today, we also close our season 7. Not today, sorry. This week, we also close our season 7, and we are very happy that we are also reaching 200 sessions of Wednesdays for Water. So at W4W, we strongly believe that water conversations are the way towards water conservation. Do visit our website, www.w4w.in for more details. Today, we talk about Mysuru, and I have the privilege to have our young fellow, Pragna Kumaraswamy, to take charge of the session. Before I invite Pragna, big thanks to you to really gather the people. We are here today. We have Ravi Kumar UN, Dr. Champa HS, and Sukhpreet Kaur to do the honor for the session. But before I invite them, let me just say Pragna holds a bachelor's degree in architecture from University of Mysore, School of Planning and Architecture, and a double master's in urban design and sustainable revitalization from Brandenburg University of Technology, Germany, and Cairo and Alexandria Universities, Egypt. She's an urban designer, architect, multidisciplinary practitioner, artist, youth activist with interdisciplinary exposure across India, Europe, and the MENA region. She's been a responsible citizen fellow with us for 3 years, and starting from Women in Architecture and now trying to establish the youth club of W4W. Over to you, Pragna, and thank you so much for bringing this session together.
Thank you, Mansi. Thank you for the warm introduction. On the note of wishing all of you here a happy Earth Day, let's dive into today's session, Mysuru Waters, Critical and Creative Perspectives, which brings together multiple ways of understanding water, not just as a resource, but as a living system shaped by ecology, planning, culture, and people. So, as many of us know probably, Mysuru holds a rich legacy of interconnected water systems, its lakes, tanks, and channels, which have historically sustained both the city and its surrounding landscapes. So, however, today, these systems are under increasing stress due to rapid urbanization, planning gaps, and changing relationships between communities and water. So this session actually emerges out of from an ongoing inquiry into these challenges, reflecting on how traditional water systems and have been overlooked and what that means for the city's resilience in the face of climate change. So the intention of today is not only to critically engage with these issues, but also to open up a creative and collective dialogue, one that builds awareness, inspires responsibility, and also encourages action. So this session is about Mysure's natural systems, its water commons particularly, their conservation, and a conversation that we hope resonates with all the creative and curious minds with us today. So we invite all of you to be part of this crucial dialogue, to listen and to reflect. So to take this forward, we have 3 speakers with us today who bring distinct yet interconnected perspectives. And to begin with, I'm delighted to invite our first speaker, UN Ravi Kumar. He is a mechanical engineer from the University of Mysore, specialized in technology and society interface, with special reference to appropriate technology, sustainable development practices, and interventions. He is actively involved in wetland conservation, rainwater harvesting, grey water recycling, biodiversity conservation, renewable energy systems. So he has taught basic engineering for nearly 26 years now and established and managed the Center for Appropriate Rural Technologies for nearly 16 years, until recently, until 2008, at the National Institute of Engineering, Mysuru, in India. So presently, he's a distinguished fellow with Schumacher Institute in the UK, and the member of the National Academic Committee of NCSC in New Delhi, then also the member committee for conservation of lakes in the district of Mysuru. So we look forward to your insights in bringing the historical journey of Mysuru's water systems into the today's present context. Over to you, Mr. Ravi Kumar.
Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Is it?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes.
Okay.
And the screen is visible as well. Please go ahead.
So, in the year 1800, 1799, defeat of Tipu Sultan, the kingdom of Mysore had its capital in Srirangapatna, which is close by. It is shifted back to Mysore, and the reign of Mysore was handed over to the Wadayar family, which is the ruling family of Mysore. The 30 years of reign of Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali had seen many wars and conquests, but agriculture had taken a back seat. So the priority from 1800 onwards was how to restore and how to go forward in this direction. Water was the key for development then. So let me show you. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So Mysuru is located in the southernmost part of Karnataka. You see the Mysore district here. And Mysuru shown, the development plan of Mysore is shown, where Mysore and Nanjangud are shown part of the larger Mysuru. Yeah. So the story revolves around this Mysuru. The picture shows you of what Mysuru city or the Mysuru town was. It revolved around a palace in the center with fortification in the north, and entire south was left open because the east, west and south were covered with forest. The source of water to Mysore then, because you must remember, this is pre-electrification. It was all gravity flow, rain-fed systems. The presence of Chamundi Hills, a sprawling hill range of about 1,600 acres, acted as a watershed, and the runoff from this watershed used to fill up three of the lakes, which you see next to the palace and close by. They were the source of water. So water for irrigation, water for cattle, water for human consumption was obtained through wells. Extensive wells were present in this. Where there is water in the well, life was possible. Much of the habitation was within the palace, and outside, traders and few others and craftsmen, their residences could be seen outside. By 1897, you see that Mysore had started growing. It had come out of the palace, and a well-planned city was taking birth. On the left-hand side, you see a lake. This is called Kukaralli Lake. This will be part of my story, because the growth of Mysore was limited by the availability of the Doddakere, Karanjikere, and Gobbulikere. These are the three lakes which are fed by the Chamundi Hill watershed. If growth had to take place, there had to be water, and that water had to be obtained somehow by gravity. That was the challenge. Mysore is located at about 700 meters altitude, receiving about 790 millimeters of rainfall. Basically, this has been a grassland and a scrubland, very dry. The city that I'm talking about has an area of about 128 square kilometers. And the later slides which I show, an expanded or planned city has almost doubled to about 275 square kilometers. This is what we'll be seeing. This is that 124 square kilometer Mysuru which I was talking about. There are several watersheds which you see the watershed boundaries and the lakes associated with that. So this is the city of Mysore. You see all the lakes here and red dots. This is information that was generated as part of a study taken up by EMPRA. 106 water bodies were identified in this area. 37 have disappeared and 69 are existing. So one more character of these lakes are there. Few are perennial, rest are ephemeral or intermittent. They are very seasonal. The red dots you see on this are all the lakes that have disappeared. The city of Mysore, the core city of Mysore is located here. And as the city started growing, many of the smaller lakes disappeared into the growing urban sprawl. This is a larger picture showing the gradient, Chamundi being the highest. Then you have the higher ranges here and comes down, the gradient reduces till you come to the river. Kabini River is to the south. In fact, there are two rivers flowing about 15 kilometers north and south, Kaveri and Kabini. But at that time, these were out of reach. They had to rely on the rainwater that is available. Yeah. This picture shows the city of Mysore and its lakes. What you see in the picture on the right-hand side is as the city started growing, the landscape started changing and all the streams became drains. They became drainage, drain away rainwater, and also the wastewater that is being generated in Mysore. This is drainage districts of Mysore. There are 6 of them. Mysuru is located about here. What is interesting here, the line you see here is a ridge line. This ridge line divides the Kaveri basin to the north and the Kabini basin to the south. So this is the highest point in the landscape. So you see that the first order streams start from here, from the ridge line. So with the result, water available to the city here is very, very meager from this. So it's only further down that you can gather more water in the lakes. So this is the challenge, how to get water to the Mysore, which is located close to the ridge point. So this is the watershed, which is fed by the Chamundi Hill. You see the Chamundi Hill here. So because of that, their presence of water was there for a longer time. Water used to linger and feed the lakes and made them perennial. But if growth had to take place further, which was poised for growth in the west, water was the key. This is the time we must remember that South India had a large number of tanks. In fact, South India survived and evolved because the presence of this water harvesting system. Call it by any name in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Telangana. The predominant mode of rainwater harvesting and using it for irrigation and survival was a common practice. More than 5,000 tanks existed. Today, Mysore district itself has about 2,900 lakes. Now, this challenge was met. The Diwan of Mysuru was the Diwan of Srirangapatna also. He was Diwan Purnaya, the experienced administrator. So he took it up as a challenge. If Mysore had to develop, water is the key. How to get water by gravity. They thought of getting water from the north, from the Kaveri basin, then they realized it was very difficult. A canal was drawn to gather water from the upland sides, which brought water to Mysuru then. But that again to the same watershed as we saw before. The next challenge was met by contriving a canal. Okay, this shows the elevation. Mysore is located here at about 750 millimeters. The Chamundi Hill here, which acted as a watershed, is at a height of about 950 meters. And here we see a ridge. This ridge is called the Elwal Ridge, a plateau, a elevated plateau. This was about 850 meters high, about 100 meters higher than Mysore. So extensive survey was done to join these. There, for example, this Elwal Ridge, there are about 6 lakes. The water from all these lakes were linked and joined through a canal, passing through the edges of this ridge, bringing water to Mysuru, Kukkarhalli Kere. The Kukkarhalli Kere, which is in the heart of Mysuru, has a catchment of only 3.7 square kilometers, which was enhanced by the presence of this 25-kilometer long canal. Quite an ingenious act for that time. So this brought water to Mysuru. Kukkarhalli Kere is here. So the water brought from all these areas was what used to feed it. So this fueled the growth of Mysore, urban Mysuru. Later, at about 1916, a sand oil factory was established south of Mysuru, which was fed by the Kukkarhalli Lake, one of the major industries of Mysuru for that time. So the sandal soap you see was obtained by the water from these lakes. This is the Purnaya Nala, which is running. This is the Elwal Ridge area. Joining Uiladu Kere and Madagalli Kere, there is a link canal. This has its own connection with 3 lakes, and this about 5 lakes. So a chain of lakes which was feeding this area. The floodwaters were diverted, brought to Mysuru through this canal, which is called the Purnaya Canal, to the lake of Kukkarhalli Kere. So this situation continued for about 100 years. In 1916, also saw the birth of the University of Mysuru on the banks of Kukkarhalli Kere. In about the last century, 1960s and 70s saw expansion of urbanization. This was led by another factor, which was the electrification. Earlier, water was drawn manually from wells. Mysore was one of the early cities to have electrification and its application. One of that was water pumping. I think by 1950s, water was being drawn from the canal, from the Kaveri, pumped to Mysuru, to the ridge line, from there gravity flow. So water supply, tap pipe water supply had ensued. Till then, water was revered in Mysore because it was water in this dry land that made life possible. But the moment people start getting water from the taps, this memory will be short-lived. In a matter of about 10 to 20 years, 1970s saw increased use of water. The moment you start using tap water, you start using it very generously. A lot of your caution is gone. So the consumption increased. And the wastewater after use started flowing out. They started reaching our lakes. Initially, didn't matter. In fact, people thought it was a good thing because much of our lakes were ephemera. They used to dry up in the dry season. So they started seeing water throughout the year. It's only in the 80s when they started turning green that they realized that there is something wrong. For example, the lake of Kukkarhalli itself was receiving so much of wastewater. It had turned green with alga, lot of rampant growth of water hyacinth. So there is a huge hue and cry, fish death. So this is the time we are also studying about environmental damage happening elsewhere, and we saw it happen in Mysore in front of our eyes. So that's when we started reacting, saying that something has to be done. Keeping the canal, this canal was taken for granted in Mysore. This is not like the regular irrigation canals, which has water flowing half the season. This used to get only the flood water, but out of reverence to the kings, nobody had touched it. No damage was done, though it was running in quite a rural area. In late last century, about 89, 90, saw rapid urbanization. Till then, urbanization was done manually, which means it was very limited in its scope. Expansion is very gradual. This saw the advent of JCBs and all. Large tracts were leveled. Vijayanagar was a township which was built at that time. We realized it was built right on the feeder channel. It was leveled and built on that. So this damage caused the loss of water to Kukarali Lake. This was offset by the sewage that was coming in. So the entire 80s and 90s, there is a debate on what is to be done, that the sewage had to be stopped. In fact, in 1995, we saw construction happening on the canal itself. That's when we protested and stopped that, saying that this canal has to be reinstated so that Kukarali can be revived. So since then, it's a battle that's been going on. You see the red part of the canal. This is the critical part, which can still augment the Kukarali. The blue part, which you see, is the part that has been leveled and converted. While studying this, we discovered that the first 9 kilometers of this canal was still intact. So reviving this and repurposing this makes sense. So I come back. Now with the advent of tapped water system, people had forgotten the importance of these lakes. We came to the lake from several dimensions, not only as an engineer, but more as a bird watcher. Looking at these lakes and their transformation, and the ecosystem was telling us a story, how the transformation was taking place, how the water quality was changing, and how it is affecting the living system around. So this made us put more pressure on the government. And by the year 2000, bulk of the sewage was diverted out of the Kukarali system. But the question still was, where was water going to come to Kukarali from? So this is the debate of our times, because our politicians think that river water you can get and fill up the lakes. It is not that. Managing the rainwater is of prime most importance. The purpose of the canal has changed. Earlier it was for the civil life of the society and the agrarian system that existed. But now the purpose has changed. But still, it played a very important role. Its ecosystem services are still very, very important to Mysore. One, it gives a protection against the floods. It's a water reservoir, groundwater recharge. See, the other thing that happened was, along with the tap water, by 1970s, the borewell technology came in. Then people started digging borewell anywhere. So urban expansion started taking place without much regard to the natural contours or the drainage systems. So this started appearing. So still the security for a groundwater is still water recharge system, which is our distributed lakes, canals, and the drainage systems, which play a very important role in this area for groundwater recharge. The ecosystem services, particularly the rich biodiversity of Mysuru, are only because of the lakes and the Chamundi Hill that is located, which gives such a diversity. So this became very important. And this also opened up our eyes to the reality of climate change, which is inevitable, which is happening, and how are we going to build our resilience? The Mysore city developed because of the presence of rainwater harvesting by managing this harvested water well. And that again still shows us the direction for future, that these still can be used for water as water security to Mysore. So the red part of the canal, if it is revived, Kukarali Lake will get enough water. And if the last part is repurposed to catch the rainwater that is flowing in this area, to recharge the groundwater, so we will find a new purpose. More than 80 acres of land will again be remaining in blues and greens in Mysore and contribute to the microclimate of Mysore, plus serious groundwater recharge. So this is the kind of opportunity, and a success of one project will also mean people can take heart and try to revive systems which they have given up already in many places. So these lakes are still very relevant. They need to be retained irrespective of the size, whether it is a Kere, Katte, or Kunte. They all have their own role to play. Our ancestors have shown that life was possible with rainwater in these places, and it is still relevant to us. So that is the direction for Mysuru. So Mysuru is still facing a lot of challenges like other places. The water quality has changed very drastically. None of these can be said. It is less than C grade, which means it is not potable even after treatment. So now our challenge is to how to improve the quality of water in these lakes. So get to see and also move up. The study that was carried out, which I mentioned, this is the reasons that given for the extinction of lakes in Mysore. 37 water bodies, which is about 35% of the study area, was encroached for development activities such as layouts, later construction and expansion of roads about 21%, and government agencies and others by about 6%. These government agencies and others happen when a road is laid, part of the lake is cut off, and its land use changes. So such things happen, especially in a dry land like Mysore, where lakes don't run full throughout the year, and it's also seasonal. For example, the Lingambudi lake used to get filled once in 10 years. But once urbanization started taking place, the water flow became steady. And today, it's dominated by the presence of sewage. So that's the kind of situation that we see in Mysore. And the key pollution problems are dumping of solid waste, growth of weeds, organic waste, domestic sewage, soil excavation in the Mysore study area. And in the Nanjangud, it is more of weeds, solid waste, agricultural runoff, organic waste, soil excavation, domestic sewage in the Nanjangud area, which is predominantly agricultural area, whereas Mysore is a urban area. But the story is the same. All your waste ultimately finds lowest point by gravity and people assisting. So lakes are seen as a dumping point for all kind of waste. It still continues despite vigilance. So the story of Mysore is no different from any other city. That's how the transformation has taken place. We were a little lucky because we saw it happen elsewhere and also in Bangalore. We were a little proactive. We could act early and try to do some conservation measures and see that it doesn't go the way of Bangalore. For example, in 2000, with the Asian Development Bank assistance, when the lake restorations took place, we emphasized, they showed us the Bangalore lakes. We said, no, we don't want this kind of development. We want Mysore lakes to be as part of an ecosystem, and conservation is the principle. And today, they agreed, and Mysore lakes have been retained as an example of conservation. There are a lot of debates going on. There's development pressure, but still, this character has been maintained in the Mysore lakes. Thank you. I sign off here. I request Champa to take over. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravi Kumar, for that insightful perspective that situates Mysoru's water systems within a rich historical and socio-ecological context. It highlights how traditional knowledge, community practices, and also systemic shifts over the time have shaped where we stand today. So, building on this understanding, we now move toward examining how contemporary urbanization and planning processes are engaged with or often overlooking these systems. So, it's my pleasure to introduce our second speaker, Dr. Champa HS. She is an architect, urban designer, academician, and environmental advocate with over 2 decades of experience in architectural practice and education. She currently serves as the Dean and Director of Mysore School of Architecture where she works at the intersection of design, planning, and pedagogy to foster climate responsive and socially inclusive built environments. She holds a PhD, and along with 2 masters, her research also focuses on climate responsive architecture, heritage conservation, and evolving design education. She has contributed to several national and international publications and conferences. So her academic journey includes roles in different architectural colleges, and currently she's based in Mysuru. She also leads an independent architectural practice, working across diverse projects on ecological sensitivity and advocating for sustainable and livable urban environments. Champa, we look forward to your perspective on how urbanization and planning can respond more sensitively to water systems. Over to you.
Thank you, Pragna, and thank you, Ravi sir, for setting the base or the foundation so interestingly, and the narration, I think, is what catches our minds and then attention to the entire talk. I do hope I will be able to continue that spirit. As all of us know that Mysore is historically known as plant city with an integrated water system, as Ravi sir explained in detail, along with lakes, canals, and nalas. So they were designed to capture, store, and reuse this rainwater. But that is what I'm trying to look at. How this rapid urbanization is disconnecting water from the urban life. So now a big question in front of all of us is, how can Mysuru rethink its water systems in the context of urban growth? This is Mysuru, the changing scenario of blues and greens over the years, as you all can see it, from 1971 to 2022, almost 50 plus years, the way the journey of Mysuru has been. Once full of lakes, as Sir mentioned, and with heritage monuments, planned city, and things like that, but it's in the race with other urban areas, I could say it. This particular map, sir, already showed this drainage district of Mysuru, the 6th district. That is where I'm just trying to look at my concentration of my presentation. So as the main water bodies, as Sir mentioned, there were so many, but then, right now it is about 11 to 12 main important ones. And you can also see the catchment areas, the flows and the water speed and things like that. And this is how it is going even today. And in that Google map, we can see the predominant or what can be seen from the Google Earth map. Maybe smaller ones are there, which are either dried up or not seen. This is the situation right now we are in. It's a cascade system of interconnected lakes. So lakes link through Rajakaluways or primary drains and secondary streams also. So mainly it helped us in flood buffering, groundwater recharge, and microclimate regulation. So it's Kabini and Kaveri Basin that, as Sir mentioned. So now what is happening right now? It's fragmented of lake networks, which was intact earlier days, blocked inflow or outflow channels, pollution from sewage and solid waste. These are the main reasons why we are facing all the problems. Now, I'm just concentrating on one of the drainage district over here, that is Dalwai Lake. Those who know Mysuru, they will know the Chamundi Hill and its environ. So this is what I'm trying to look at. If you look at the master plan or the land use pattern, what existed in 2009 and what is proposed for 2031, the area used to be agriculture as well as open areas, but it has been engulfed into the urbanization. So now what we see it over here, the open space 772 square in hectares has been increased over here to 1,600. But at the same time, where has that been gone? Agriculture, if you look at it, it was 13,455 hectares, whereas it has been reduced drastically to 1,000 hectares. So this is where the urbanization has started eating up the agriculture or the natural heritage, we could say it. So now when we are looking at it, so we have tried to look at the lakes, the primary, secondary drains, and urban development pattern. So now the table, what I just showed you, gives us the direction how the development authority is trying to enlarge the urbanization. So the discontinuity in drainage channels, encroachments along the nalas, sewage inflow into natural drains, and loss of ecological edges. These were the things mainly which was observed in this. So right now the nalas are functioning more as a drain and sewage carrier and leftover public space. But yet they hold a potential as urban ecological corridors. So that is what all of us are trying to. And water systems are treated as infrastructure leftovers. I mean, this is a reflection that each one of us have to look into, and not as an urban asset. Moving on to the same Dalwai Lake drainage district, if you look at it, so this is the Chamundi Hill where the contour, yes. So if you look at all the maps which have been presented over here in this particular slide, it gives us a clear direction as to the way the water used to flow, the primary and the secondary streams which were there, and over the years how things have changed. Some have remained as a natural drainage, or some have been converted into RCC drains, and some have also been, I think between the natural and the RCC, they used to try to maintain the natural system by using the stone. So that's another system that we have found during this particular study. If you look at the sections over here which are there, one can make out the way these sections right now, and the photos clearly show us some are in natural condition even today, and some are slowly getting converted into RCC drain. So this is happening because of the insensitivity, one could say, or it is becoming more of an engineered solution as the city is growing. So the stream condition is majorly grey water, because Dalwai Lake is the major collection point of Mysore UGD, that is underground drainage system, some of which gets purified at JP Nagar, which is very close. On the map only one can see it, and others are directly, because through this study when we went for field work and things like that, we did see some are entering the STP and some are just going across and then entering the lake directly. So this is where all the lakes are getting filled with sewage. So another one is Uttarahalli, where that is also is a catchment area for this particular drainage district, experiences a seasonal stream, which most of the time is clean water, either from rain or inlets from Chamundi Hill. And it also receives water supply from other canal during the months of from June to September. Now this is another section, if you just see it in this thing. So this is the typical way of doing the stormwater drains by the side of the road, RCC, box sections. So expansion of built up areas. So that is what we are facing. So loss of permeable surfaces, increased runoff, so which is leading to urban flooding and waterlogging, encroachment of nalas and lakes, conversion of water bodies into layouts and infrastructure. Sir already threw light on all these points. So water as a paradox, flooding during monsoon and water scarcity in summer. So this is what we are. So the critical point over here is urbanization has shifted water from a resource to a problem. I think that is where we all need to find the answer to. Now, continuing with the same, if you look at it, some more pictures of the Dalwai Lake. So water hyacinth is another problem that the lake is facing. At the same time, there are natural rain, the agricultural land, even today I still remember we had taken up one of the urban design studio site in the downstream of Dalwai. It was so scenic, so green because the cultivation was in full swing. But the saddest part was the people who were working there, the laborers or the farmers, whatever you may call them, all their skins were having problem. The reason what we understood, it is because the Dalwai is getting the treated water or some are untreated water, and that is let into the downstream, which is being used for irrigating the land, agricultural land. So these are the other problem which we fail to address many a times. Now, if you just look at this particular thing, I mean, the information, proposed land use map of 2031. If you look at it, there is more of residential, urban green has been reduced. There is industrial is nil, literally in this particular zone. So slowly it is all getting into commercial and residential. This just some more pictures of the present situation. You could say it was taken in 2023. So some are, and they are huge, and all of them are carrying mostly gray, and some places it is even the sewage water also, all the nalas, you could say it. So now in the map, you could see it, some have remained as very small portion, the dark green, which is a modified landscape, and some settlements have happened along the canal, and also the natural canal system which was there has remained in very less portion. Most of the places it has already been modified. These are some more pictures of the same. So now the sections where we have shown that, it shows some are deep, some are wide. So that means we do have a lot of opportunity if we can create the awareness, embed it into our planning system. If we can retain this as a natural spine, and then what we are talking about, climate resilience and microclimate, this is very much possible. Yeah, so the way forward, I think the creative and critical approaches, nature-based solutions, urban design intervention or urban planning or architecture, whoever may call it, whichever profession it belongs to, the governance and policy is one main thing that we need to look into. And community engagement, because we've all understood without citizen stewardship or community engagement, many things are not possible. I think that is another thing each one of us are learning from the profession also. Mysore's water system are not lost. They are hidden and fragmented. That is what I would like to tell. So we need to shift from drainage to ecology, infrastructure to landscape, problem to resource. So reimagining Mysore's waters is not just an environmental necessity, but an opportunity to create a community space and also stepping towards creating climate resiliency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Champa, for that insightful and very holistic perspective on urbanization and planning. So It brings forward how design and planning decisions critically influence the health and resilience of water systems today, and especially in case of Mysore, and the need for more integrated and more collective response, more collective approaches towards these challenges today. So, from this lens, we now move towards understanding water within a broader ecological framework through our third speaker, Sukhpreet Kaur. And she is a trustee of Aranya Outreach Trust with over 25 years of experience in environmental education and education for sustainable development. She's currently an active core member of Water Forum Mysuru, where she's engaged in research and public outreach initiatives, including work on the Purnayanale, a significant heritage waterway in Mysuru. Her expertise lies in conceptualizing and implementing educational programs that promote environmental awareness and sustainability, particularly across schools in India. So she leads and facilitates nature walks, camps, treks, and workshops that encourage deeper engagement with ecological systems and inspire action for environmental conservation. So, in addition, she also works as a subject matter expert in environmental education and ESD, contributing to content development and capacity building for both national and international organizations, strengthening learning frameworks around sustainability and ecological responsibility. So we are excited to hear her perspective on the ecological dimensions of Mysuru's water systems. Over to you, Sukhpreet.
Thank you, Pragya, for the warm welcome. Yeah, you've heard both the speakers, and there will be a couple of things which might be overlaps with what you and Kumar as well as Champa have discussed. So I'll also try and do a fair enough share of explanation of what I'm intending to do. So I will be talking about a little about the ecological significance of why wetlands are important. So just to very quickly introduce what wetlands are, and these are, we are aware are systems which have water either seasonally or perennially, and we have wetlands which are both natural as well as man-made in nature. So as even Ravi Kumar also pointed out, most of south of India had tanks, and these tanks were constructed for collecting rainwater, since this is a region which did not have water, does not have water through the year. So very thoughtfully, our ancestors had made tanks which stored water, and this water was available for drinking purposes, uh, for irrigation purposes, and all other requirements. Next slide, please, Chapa. So, considering wetlands and just trying to understand why wetlands are important today. So you can see we need them for recreation, which is not the most important, of course, but we require them for flood control, for clean water, for water supply, for food, habitat, as well as migration. So just giving you a very interesting example that we have the bar-headed geese, which is a very interesting species, which comes all the way for people who know the Asian continent, Mongolia to Mysore. So they migrate over the Himalayas. The Himalayas, like literally 8 kilometers above the surface of the earth, and they don't stop at all. They start from Mongolia and then they land in Mysore. So we are in Mysore district. So we host these important migratory birds, and if we are, not taking care or not conserving our biodiversity, then we will be losing out on some of our species, both local as well as migratory, which come into us over the year. So apart from that, we also do realize, in terms of today's climate context, that these wetlands are important because they help us to replenish, water supply. They help us to store carbon. They also improve livelihoods for people, because a lot of these wetlands are used for purposes of fishing, and of course, if we revive a wetland, we're also being able to revive the biodiversity which it supports. It does not mean just the fauna or the fish, but it also means a lot of the vegetation which these wetlands are able to help support. Next slide, please. Yeah, so just going back to the context which was said, this is very specific to Mysore, and we, it was mentioned earlier that Mysore is a semi-arid region, and considering also it was a region which received, an annual rainfall of 750 mm, and also those who understand this region, the northwest monsoon, or largely between, the October, November, December, September to October, November period is when we receive our retreating of the northwest monsoons, and that is when majority of the majority of the wetlands in the city would, or in this region would get filled. So, considering that we got rainfall for 3 months of the entire year, it was extremely important to be able to find ways to harness this water. So all the tanks actually helped serve this purpose. And also, like was mentioned earlier, we are on a ridge, and water very quickly runs off either to the Kabini or to the Kaveri basin. So it was important to be able to collect and store this water for various purposes. So, ways or the nalas, the nala, as we are commonly calling it now, are systems which were connecting one carry on one wetland to the other, and it ensured that when water was full in one particular wetland, it moved on to the other, and this made sure that there was no urban flooding either. So, and the water was well managed in this particular service. So this ecological role of the wetland as buffers and not and to ensure that there's no urban water flooding happening was a great role that these systems are playing, they were playing, and continue to play even today. The next slide, please. So now trying to contextualize all the relevance of urban biodiversity with climate change, we do, so temperature regulation is one major aspect. We do understand that urban greenery is extremely important, and this urban greenery helps us to maintain better temperatures in the city. So the urban greenery as well as the wetland part both help regulate the temperatures in urban setup, and this is very important when we look at the climate change today and the increasing temperatures today. The next reason why these are very important is that the role that they play in disaster resilience. Today, whether it's wetlands in coastal regions or it's wetlands within an urban setup, they help to combat disasters like floods. So this is another role that they play. And of course, carbon sequestration, they support biodiversity, and last but not the least, I mean, these are not the only benefits which are happening, but studies have shown that there's a significant benefit which humans derive from by these systems. So both the health as well as social benefits are significant when it comes to when we are looking at urban biodiversity. The next slide, please. Yeah, so I would like to talk here also about the importance of these systems as urban biodiversity corridors. Like I did mention, the Kere and the Nala, the large Kalaways, they were connecting wetlands. These Nales were collecting different wetlands. So it formed an entire corridor which could and can even now continue to sustain biodiversity, because the whole bee pollinating gardens which we talk about in the country are all being created today, but these systems actually existed. So what we need to do is to be able to conserve these so that they are they are continuing to sustain the biodiversity that we have. The next slide, please. Well, again, going back to emphasizing that wetlands are most important for us, but they are also extremely threatened ecosystems across the world, and that we have lost more than 50% of the wetlands, which was the data which is also old. I'm talking about 1999 IUCN data, which says that more than 50% of the wetlands globally were lost in the previous century itself. So what is important today? So if we are looking at a development in a sustained way in any urban setup, it is extremely important to have these wetlands and the systems associated with it so that they are able to provide us not just goods, but also very important services for sustaining biodiversity as well as our own coexistence with these particular systems. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is, we've been talking about the Pune Nala all three of us have been talking about the Pune Nala and what this. So this is basically a bird's eye view of what Nala used to do. So the green patches, the green and the blue patches that you see today. So I would like to emphasize here that this was a 25-kilometer long canal when it was in the best of its health. But today, of course, we have like about 16 kilometers. So all the gray portions are the portions we have lost to urban development without really understanding the context of why this particular heritage was done. And also taking us back to what Ravi Kumar was mentioning, that these systems were created as far back as the 1800s. So there was no, should I say, there was no mechanization in place to even create these structures, and still literally manually these canals have been constructed by hand by sheer labor of people involved with it, and they were able to this entire catchment was able to take water to the Purani, which sustained a lot of our requirements. So even today, if we are able to revive the patches which are still existing today, it'll do us immense good. So here at this point, I would like to add at the final. I'll just give you a little bit of data or understanding of what Kukurali can actually be. So Kukurali is one of our IBAs, which is an important bird area network. So an IBA is classified, it's an international classification, and the reason Kukurali is classified as an IBA is because, of course, four important species which breed here, and they are, they also literally found here year long, including the spot-billed pelican as well as the painted stork. So these are some of the species which are threatened and also, globally threatened as per the IUCN classification. So the lake hosts over 200 species of birds. It hosts over 400 species of plants. All the fauna, I mean all the flora, whether it is plants in terms of trees or it is creepers, climbers. So a host of flora is also relevant. We have more than 14 species of animals, including the bats to the golden jackal. So a jackal is something you would think of in the forest, but we have it right in the heart of the city. So it's amazing to find jackals and even bats, many species of bats, which are which find their homes locally. So if we are able to, so again, the golden jackal is something which uses bits and pieces of the canal and the nala associated with it to actually move across one location to the other. So we have seen these ourselves, and unfortunately also seen some of these dying out in roadkills because of the urbanization and the traffic which has now increased around the Khebe and around the nala spaces which connect these canals. Just depicted here are a few species of birds and few vegetations which we have, which are important for the entire sustenance of this system. The next slide, please. Yeah, so there are many challenges and opportunities. So rapid urbanization has been a major challenge. There is pollution and the change in landscape, as we did mention. But again, if we can revision these spaces and take it into the urban fabric, into the developmental processes of the urban fabric, and we can enhance the biodiversity of the space. We can also create good biodiversity corridors. and we can create a system wherein both us, both humans as well as the species which actually coexist with us are able to sustain. And considering today's Earth Day, we need to understand that we do not, we are not the only ones to. We treat ourselves, humans treat ourselves as the owners of Earth because that's the way we are acting. We fail to understand that we are a very small part of an entire ecological web. And if we are still not going to realize that we are going to be in a dire situation soon. So I really think we can do we can start taking a few steps and enable some change. And this is also possible with a lot of education and public engagement. So yeah, that's all I had to kind of dig into the picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Sukhpreet, for bringing in the ecological and educational perspective, and for grounding water within living systems of biodiversity and also community awareness. And it reminds us, thanks also for reminding us that sustaining water systems is also about nurturing our relationship with nature through understanding, engagement, and also how the human entity or the human species part is only a mere part in the ecological web. So together with all of these perspectives, which has helped us to see Mysuru's water system as a convergence of history, planning, and ecology. So they highlight both the complexity of the challenges and also the possibilities that lie in the integrated collective approaches which we can potentially take. So with that, I'd now like to open the floor for questions and reflections from the audience. Feel free to unmute yourself and respond here. Meanwhile, we can take a question which was already in the chat box by Priyanka. Or if you would like to unmute yourself and talk by yourself, Priyanka. Okay. Let me read out the question. So it was a question to Ravikumar. So it was regarding lake cleaning. I was wondering how frequently the Kukareli Lake cleanup, desilting, weed removal, and plastic is done, and is there a need to develop more economical or effective lake cleaning equipment? That was her question.
Interestingly, our lake action in the cities are reactive, they are not proactive. Only when there is a crisis, something is done. So there is no lake cleanup system. Several times some attempts have been done is when some crisis occurred. When the lake was choked with water hyacinth, then there is a drive to remove the water hyacinth fully. On the northern side, there is a wetland. A lot of waste tends to get accumulated there. But still, there is no regular cleaning system. So this is the problem with all the lakes that you find. So there is no regular maintenance and routine cleaning system at all. To add to that, let me tell you, when there is a hue and cry from people, some money is spent in the name of lake rejuvenation. Where possible, even desilting is done to some extent, but there is no maintenance. A lot of money is spent repeatedly, and there is no process of maintenance at all. That's what we see today.
Hi, this is Priyanka. Thank you so much for answering that, sir. My general thought was, is it like an economical thing that these machines are very costly and that is why they are not being implemented? Or is it more of a bureaucracy thing that even if there are funds, it's not being allocated to these efforts? I just wanted to know what the root cause is, and yeah, I'm just looking to contribute more to these things. So just trying to understand where the problem really lies.
As I told you, there is not much money allocation for any of this. It's only on a basis of crisis. Let me give you an example. There is a lake in Mysore, which is called Karanji Lake, which is next to the zoological gardens. So this lake had gone dry in 2017 when desilting was taken up. And the silt level showed about 5.5 feet of silt was there, out of which 4 feet of silt had accumulated over about 150 years. The last 1 feet of silt, 1.5 feet, is from the past 20 years. You could clearly make out the quality of silt itself. Earlier it was only soil. Top had a lot of organic matter in that. So siltation is a process and continuous process, and certain amount of silt is necessary. When we desilted, we left about 1.5 feet of silt intact so that the imperviousness of the lake is maintained. So it again depends on the purpose. If a lake is completely desilted, if the purpose is groundwater recharge, it serves very well because water retention takes a long time to pick up because silt has to deposit and render it impervious. So you have to be very careful even with the desilting. In many of the lakes which tend to get dry or the water level becomes low, it is possible to desilt them with simple earth moving machinery. You don't have to have very elaborate thing. But silt removal is also done in such a way. It is like cutting an ice. It is easy for measurement. All edges should be very smooth, and also the natural edges of lakes have to be left intact because a lot of life is hidden in that which we don't realize. So these are the precautions we took, and these are the kind of precaution one has to take. Yeah, that's it.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome.
We have another question in the chat box by Vishwanath Shrikantaya. If you would like to unmute yourself and pose a question by yourself. Mr. Vishwanath. So his question was about how do the aquifers and surface water interact, and has there any study been going on this aspect?
Sorry to interrupt, Pragna, but I think Vishwanath can now speak. So go ahead, Vishwanath.
Yes.
Not yet. But I see him unmute and okay, maybe Ravi Kumar may respond because it's to him.
Yeah. We know that the chief source of groundwater recharge are the lakes in Mysore. Not only in Mysore, in any of these places. So keeping this intact is very important. Both the lakes, the feeder channels, the flow channels, some of the studies reveal that the natural flow channels are actually replicating the cracks inside the rock zone, which is understandable. So they also play a very important role as highly conductive surfaces for groundwater recharge. Particularly in the context of Purna and Nala, when we were studying what is the potential of that, it showed that in that dry land, this used to be a grassland. These few lakes and their channels played a very important role in it because most of the fissures and cracks and lineaments that you find in the terrain, they are along these flow channels. So if you don't cement it, it can play a very important role in groundwater recharge. Similarly, the canal running on the edge of this ridge also is shown by the geology maps as highly conducive places for groundwater recharge. So retaining them very intact and keeping them active can play a very important role for groundwater recharge and reduce urban flooding and build the insurance of groundwater resource.
Indeed. Yeah. And if we do not have any other questions in the chat box, I would like to ask a question myself to Supreet. So, like, regarding how can we make ecological awareness around water more accessible and engaging for the public? Because no matter what, from which discipline we come from or which profession, like Champa also mentioned, we come from, it is important to engage ourselves and relate ourselves with the ecological responsibility. So, what might be the initial step or an immediate action citizens can take to contribute to protecting water systems generally, and also especially in Mysuru's case? Yeah, I was wondering, anyone would be welcome to answer for this. Yeah.
Can I?
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
I'll give you an example. When we were asking a question in the school, where does your water come from? All the children knew it came from the tap. Then they traced it to the overhead tank, then ultimately to the river, the KRS. When you ask them where does water come from, there is always water there. This is the kind of impression people have, children have. So they think either it is borewell or there is an infinite source to be tapped. Till we run out of it, they never for a moment imagine that it may not be there tomorrow. So it's very important to expose them to the ecological processes. The lakes within a city are not just for entertainment, recreation. They are a very important educational tool. When our generation grew up, we had direct contact with the nature for various reasons. So a lot of such learnings happen, which don't happen in the universities or in the colleges. Today, children are deprived of this contact. So exposing them and experiencing these are very important. That's when they can understand and also appreciate. We start liking. See, we fell in love long back. When you see these ecological processes working and the intricacy and the way nature works, it's so thrilling. So that kind of excitement has to be reinstated. That has to be done only experientially. When we try to talk, make a slide presentation, they are all bored today because there is so much of endless visual things on the net. So it is very important to take them out, experience it, and get excited about it. This is the challenge. Once that happens, a lot of learning happens downstream. So this is the trigger point that's very essential, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely, sir. I totally agree. And also, I would like to highlight at this moment that an initiative of Nada Walk from Water Forum Mysore also promotes this kind of, reconnecting and feeling back towards the nature. So if anyone's, in Mysore and has to definitely experience this Nada Walk, which we showed visually on the map today to kind of, really get the understanding of their ecology, which is there today. And if we have further questions.
I think now Sukribit has come. Yeah, she's joined.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, we would like to congratulate Mansi and Pragna for the paper. Yes, we have read it. We are yet to send our feedback to Pragna. We will shortly do that also.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. And Mansi, if you have any thoughts to share.
Thank you so much, Prajna, for conducting this session so seamlessly. And every session has to come to closure. And I have to say that we have to also start packing things up. But before I do so, I would also like to take the opportunity to congratulate the Mysore team, because there are not many cities in the country where actually Citizens Collective is so much together and trying to mobilize. It's not about what do we attain. It's also how do we want to take that path and who are all involved in it. So that's, having said that, I have a very simple, small question for Dr. Champa here. And because we both come from, some pedagogical inclination, how does it really bother you, Champa? Because it bothers me for last 30 years now, that architecture and planning education is yet to embrace water education in its totality, right from the year one when we start talking about building materials to landscape when we talk about land, touching water very briefly, and then straight away jumping into urban design where waterfront is about water. Where do you see this problem? Because I am really going places across the country, holding a small, I say in Hindi, usually a katora, to let water education happen. How long will we take to let water education happen in the way it should be?
See, in architecture, we have started teaching software from semester 1. I'm not even talking about the schooling and things like that. I'm talking directly from the professional subject or the profession that we are all in architecture. So the way the AI has been embedded into the entire thing. But still, sustainability comes as an afterthought or more a stigma or something which we need to follow. I think that is where the mindset has to change, and it is not 1 or 2%, the entire fraternity of architects as professionals and as a pedagogical experience or learning process. I think this is where we need to literally, start working on it. It's not going to be an easy task. I'll tell you, when we did Blue Green as an studio at our college, and it is out of syllabus. At bachelor's level, nobody does that, but there's no building there. And we were not looking at building. So they said, I said, it's okay. They say UD is 25%, but I'll make that into 75%. So, these are the individual decisions that like the way you have started this W4W and done so many activities and things. One is creating awareness and then joining hands together and taking so many people along with us. And there are so many people, like now Ravi sir is like a mentor to us, so joining people like that. So it is the wisdom and it is the interest. I think this is where we can address it, because we've been talking on so many different platforms. Many people are not sensitized towards this. Because one of my relative recently, when I was talking about the Purnaya Canal, something like that, they said, that's where we throw our garbage. So that's how they relate to it. So I think, and many of our students, we went on cycle to two-wheelers to whatever to do the field work. Now, many students came back surprised and with so much surprise in their, this finding. Ma'am, the Nala goes next to our house. We never knew about it. I think these are the kind of things which each one of us have to bring in that interest and cultivate and continue the conversation. It is not one-time conversation, rather it's a continuous thing. I think that is where we all have to put our heads and energy towards.
Wow, because thanks, Champa, because you almost touched the soft part of my young time when I almost failed my bachelor's and a master's urban design because I didn't want to do buildings, and they did not approve both the theses because I was focusing on the water, and water then 30 years ago was not even topic of architecture and urban design. Looking at that 30 years henceforth, and then also we are 400 plus sessions old, 450 coming very close actually. I feel we have come a long way. Now how the knowledge may have come a long way, but it is divided and fragmented into sectors, regions, and disciplines. And as you rightly mentioned, we have to bring it together. At W4W, we are trying our little bit a drop in the ocean, I must say, as required. But somewhere we have to start and somewhere we have to connect as water connects. With this, I would also like to announce the session closure because we will have to close it. These conversations are going to flow, and we believe that conversations must flow just the way we would like to see the water flow. And this is also an invite to Champa, Trivikram, Shrikant, and all, that we are planning one more session on the pedagogy of Mysuru water, how you all have reached out to the society, to the community, to educate about water, educate ourselves actually. So thanks a lot, all the speakers and Pragna for organizing this session, Sukhpreet, Champa, and Ravi Kumar. It was a wonderful session. It's very hard always to close these kind of sessions when you would like to continue flowing, but we know that we have dams all over the country. Likewise, the conversations have to be cut short. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we come back very soon, this week itself actually, at Friday Waters book reading session, a wonderful book hot from the oven, I must say. It's on river rejuvenation and river rights, evolving debates in India, on April 24th, day after, at 5 p.m. IST. We have both the editors of the book, Professor Philip Kulet and Professor Ruchi Shri, as our speakers. We go through the book in a very rigorous manner. Those who in Ahmedabad, please join us on Saturday at Darpana Academy or Natrani with Mallika Sarabhai, and we talk about Jal Samvad, Jal Se Jan Tak, because we have actually local elections on 26th. So we also take it on the ground and we talk with the people, for the people, by the people. Thanks all of you. Please take care and stay well. See you soon.
Thank you, Mansi and Pragna.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks all the speakers for being here. And Sukhpreet had to leave because she had to travel. But thank you, everyone, for this, and also Mansi for this wonderful opportunity to get this, panel together and have this dialogue and take it out there. So yeah, conversation that we hope that resonates with citizens, students, especially the youth and all curious minds who are here and also who are going to watch it further in the future in the YouTube as well. So hoping that you will carry all of these conversations forward in your own circles, and hoping for the sustainable future for Mysore and also for our planet. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll do that. Thank you, Pragna.
Thank you.
Thank you.